Hey y'all, it's your girl, Professor Eva Marie King. This is my audio podcast. I just do little short podcasts about community leaders. Today I'm talking about Dr. Stephen Jackson. I'm going to do one soon on the Furtado brothers, Lance, Todd, and Tony Furtado. Stephen Jackson, I met back in the 70s when I was an elementary school student at what's now the do what is it the Edward Kennedy Ellington School of Art, Technology, and Science, or PS 140, in my neighborhood in Southside Jamaica, Queens. I lived on 118th Avenue, right on the intersection of 169th Street, and Steve Jackson had moved there in the late 70s, apparently after a house fire at his childhood home on 147th Street and Linden Boulevard. Shout out Dr. Steve Jackson. I got a good memory, right, Steve? Steve was always a very positive mentor for me when I used to do my homework, and I remember talking to him specifically about Abraham Lincoln freeing the slaves, and us discussing. Now, this is on my front step. This is going back to the late 70s when I was in elementary school. And, him explaining to me why President Abraham Lincoln, freed the slaves at that time. And, I was surprised because I thought it was, because he cared. He, wanted to help the slaves. But based on what I remember, it was during that discussion to make the United States, like to the Union States and the Confederate States, to bring it all together. So it's more political than, I care about these enslaved people and chattel slavery and I want to just free them. So shout out to Dr. Stephen Jackson for that. And Stephen Jackson, his mom, was always so nice. And the cooks, oh my God, his grandparents were so kind. I remember being a paper girl with my homegirl, and we used to deliver papers. So, we'd always see them and go. We delivered the Long Island Press. So, Stephen Jackson, I know that you had went on. You were a principal at a high school in Mount Vernon, then a school in Washington, D.C., and I know you were part of His Honor, Mayor Eric Adams' transitional team. I believe it was a transitional team. Y'all check my facts, but I'm just kind of speaking off of news reports that I saw. But brothers like Dr. Stephen Jackson can't be forgotten about. I mean, he's part of the 118th Avenue fam. He lived there. Our block was so influential back in the 70s. And before that, his grandparents and so many of the other elders were part of making that community the first black middle class in New York City. My parents moved from Harlem. I don't know too much about the history of Mr. and Mrs. Cook, Dr. Stephen Jackson's grandparents, but I want to say that Dr. Stephen Jackson is a standout, as a representative of 118th Avenue in Southside Jamaica, Queens. So I saw him a few weeks ago and didn't know it was him because we both had masks on, and I'm listening like I know that voice. And then when he introduced himself and he said Steve Jackson, I said, oh, shoot, Steve. Wow. So, I don't know. It's a small world. Let's give our people their flowers now. So all of the good things brother is doing in the community, throughout the country and I'm sure throughout the world, we want to give him his flowers and we want to say thank you. And I want to, talk about him further once I get more factual information about what he's been doing since I last saw him. But I appreciate his commitment to educating our children and to being a community leader. So shout out Dr. Stephen Jackson. Thank you for being an educator, and thank you for educating yourself so that you can educate others and be a positive role model I'll definitely be in touch with you soon on our project on 118th Avenue to do a timeline for our elders who moved on that historic block and raised us young folks back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So search the internet for Dr. Stephen Jackson. He's an alumna of Howard University. I'm not sure of all of the colleges he went to, but it's Dr. Stephen Jackson. And he grew up in Southside Jamaica, Queens, and he is a very important community leader. Shout out from your little sister, me, who, you took the time to instill some very important facts about history when I was a young girl at PS 140 Queens. Peace, y'all. Again, search Dr. Stephen Jackson on the internet and social media. He's on LinkedIn, he's on Facebook. And holla at me, man. This is my audio podcast. It's your girl, Professor Eva Marie King. Search me, Eva Marie King. Peace.